So what if I told you that someone created music for a Batman film that sounds like classic 80s film scores, like those from legendary composers such as Vangelis, John Carpenter and Alan Howarth, Jerry Goldsmith, and Hans Zimmer? In this episode, I'll show you what makes Christopher Drake's music for The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 one of the best film scores created for a character that, perhaps, might just be the reigning king of music created for film and television. The amount of great original music created for the character Batman, it's second to none. No matter the medium, film, TV, video games, Batman has been responsible for a wealth of great music. Danny Elfman created one of the most iconic film music themes for the 1989 film. Shirley Walker's orchestration set a new standard for music in TV shows. And Hans Zimmer's music for the Nolan trilogy helped set a sonic template that action blockbuster films would emulate for years to come. Even Batman films that were critically panned are filled with amazing music from Elliot Goldenthal. And perhaps overshadowed by Batman's theatrical film scores, you can also find composer Christopher Drake's body of work for Batman, which include 8 films and 2 video games. In The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2, Drake had the opportunity to tackle a Batman story set in the 1980s. Adapting the acclaimed Frank Miller graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, was both a great honor and a daunting task given Drake's lifelong fandom for the material.
I mean, Batman has been a huge part of my life since I was a kid. I mean, I had heard that, Dark Knight Returns, and I looked at Bruce and I was like, dude, I will fucking put me in a cage with whoever and I will kill them with my bare hands to do this.
So Drake's first order of business was to choose a sonic texture that would transport viewers to the story's time period. And to do so, Drake tapped into popular synthesizers used in iconic 80 film scores, like the Yamaha CS80, which is most famously used by Vangelis in Blade Runner, and the sequential circuit Prophet 9, which is the synth of choice for composer John Carpenter. Drake uses the synthesizers to represent the decay of Gotham City. As Batman slowly starts to emerge from retirement and getting back into shape, orchestral instruments start to be introduced into the soundtrack. By the end of Part 2, the soundtrack becomes full orchestra as Batman and Superman face each other. Let's get back to Batman, and let's dive into the theme that Drake created for this character. Set in E minor, even though the theme starts in the root chord, the melody starts in G, which is the third chord. Both the harmony and the melody have a descending pattern. This makes the theme feel like it's not starting at the beginning. In our story, we start with a version of Batman that is in his 50s and retired. The intensity with which Drake plays this theme, it also captures the frustration and desperation Batman feels, which ultimately causes him to come out of retirement. Additionally, this gives us a sensation of a character that is moving towards an ending. In the film, Batman knows the consequences of coming out of retirement and the likely outcome of his fate. Alright, so let's compare Drake's theme to the classic Elfman Batman theme. In Elfman's theme, the melody has an ascending pattern. In Tim Burton's Batman, that character was being reintroduced to audiences. In the film, Elfman's theme gives us a sense of call to adventure, as the theme captures the sensation of the bat signal lighting up the sky and our hero off to the rescue. Again, Drake's theme is fitting for a version of Batman that is coming out of retirement against his will, and it's heading towards an outcome that it's likely not gonna go his way. Drake's Batman theme has a second part, which also does a great amount of storytelling. This version of Batman, at 50 years old, is out of shape to say the least. He has a slow and bumpy road to regain his strength. In the second part, the harmony progression ascends chromatically, doing a great job to capture Batman's strong will. The melody provides a contrast, communicating the obstacles encountered along the way. At the end of the journey, Batman goes through a transformation and emerges as a new person at the end. Throughout both films, Batman's theme undergoes a transformation, just like the character does. In the beginning, first part of the theme has a descending pattern, but as Batman regains his identity, the melody starts to ascend. By the end, as Batman finds himself with a new sense of purpose, his theme has transformed too, now with an ascending melody, giving it a forward momentum. So another thing that makes these Batman films unique is that it features two other iconic characters, Superman and Joker, and they both have an interesting impact on the music. Superman is represented only by orchestral instruments, with a theme that uses a technique inspired by John Williams, where the melody sort of pronounces the character's name. Drake's Superman theme, the melody descends after its initial statement, and thus giving us a negative feeling about Superman's arrival. In this story, Superman is one of the antagonists of the story. His theme represents the tension and danger that he just creates everywhere he shows up. The other antagonist of the story is Joker. For this story, Drake focuses on capturing Joker's obsession with Batman. He creates an ostinato with a loving lullaby quality. We mainly hear Joker's theme through an extended sequence that features Batman and Joker in an extensive fight that it includes the two of them entering into a pink tunnel of love and thus further emphasizing Joker's love for Batman. The music throughout this sequence puts us inside the Joker's mind, showing us how dominant his obsession with Batman is. When Batman first injures the Joker's neck, the music cuts off. Giving us the impression that the Joker might be dead. When he starts to speak, the music fades in. But the theme this time is in a gentle piano variation, and it tells us about Joker's fragile state. When the Joker snaps his neck, the music once again cuts off, this time leaving us in complete silence since Joker's one-track mind has finally been stopped in its track. Another highlight of the score is Drake's action music. A self-proclaimed Jerry Goldsmith fan, Drake channels his Goldsmith influence by utilizing odd time signatures for action sequences.
You know, if you're doing an action scene, I like rhythmically, if you have what's called an odd time signature, it makes things a little bit chaotic. And so I write in what's called 7/4 time or 5/4 time. 7/4 time is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. 1 and 2 and 3. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4.
Both The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 feature great action cues, driven by synth and string arrangements and anchored by bombastic percussive accents. And last but certainly not least, we need to give a quick spotlight to Drake's sound engineering work on the score. Drake didn't have the resources of a live orchestra recording by some of the world's greatest musicians. Instead, much of his time was dedicated to making his VST instruments, virtual studio technology, sound as real as possible.
There's way more work and more hours that go into not being artistic and being a fucking technician. If I had a real orchestra, it would take me half the time, and it would be a lot much bigger, a lot much better, because I could spend that time being a composer and writing music, not making like, oh, I have to fake this trumpet or French horn sounding.
You know, the title of this video was inspired by two things. The first is the obvious, that given the film's straight to Blu-ray release, they are not as well known as other Batman films, which have been huge blockbusters and cultural events. The second reason is that Drake's score throughout the film is significantly buried under the final sound mix of the film. Often, sound effects overpower the score in key pivotal moments, where a different approach that prioritized the score, it would have given those same moments much greater emotional strength. And it's only when listening to the isolated soundtrack that we listeners can discover a level of artistry, care, and passion that could only have come from a place of true love for the source material. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, that's awesome, that's great. And with that in mind, just a friendly reminder to please subscribe to the channel. That way, you're not just only aware of new videos that come up on the channel, but you also help us grow. So thanks again for watching.